My beloved child, Archangel Michael says the night holds heavy footsteps that belong to a stranger who believes fear will chain you, and yet a single candle can start a river of light that finds every lock. Quiet courage grows inside the chest when the world seems to conspire against the body of the family you love, and that courage speaks in small acts that are louder than any shout. Listen to the hush that follows the first crack of danger, feel the resolve that rises like dawn, and do not yield to the chill that seeks to convince you the fight is already lost. A shadow moved through an alley and the story of those footsteps began to knot around the ankles of your loved ones, but there is a way to untangle the fear with deliberate motion and the right words of protection. The hands that repair a wound are the same hands that can plan escape and shelter, and preparation turns panic into a map. Hold the memory of laughter as a shield, and let it be the small, bright signal that draws help to you when doors must be opened. The first scene of this hour is built on a slow cruelty that targets limbs with the intention to slow, to hurt, and to humiliate, but every act of violence reveals its own weakness when met with steady hearts. A single resolved plan can change the geometry of entrapment, turning a corner of despair into a corridor of movement and possibility. Keep breathing into each decision and let your choices stitch a path where limbs can move again and where help can arrive. Hope is not a naive wish but a practical tool that demands steps and timing, and each small step toward rescue brings a new thread of possibility into being. Focus on what can be done right now to make the trapped reach safety, and refuse the invitations to freeze in the face of cruelty. Strength is a series of small agreements with yourself to keep moving until the chain dissolves. Type Amen to get blessing 333. A plan born out of clear-headed urgency will include calling names, setting times, and establishing signals that everyone understands, and simplicity is the secret of survival. When someone is bound, even the smallest sign of recognition can be a lifeline, and your voice can be trained to carry instructions that cut through noise. Keep your instructions short, keep your tone steady, and do not let panic rewrite the map you have drawn for rescue. Find an entry point that the captor did not consider and make it the axis of your strategy, because cruelty often overlooks the obvious when it feels secure. A forgotten window, a routine route, a neighbor who notices patterns, these are all pieces of the puzzle that build escape corridors. Catalog them quickly and move together with purpose, letting every small discovery give you more courage and more leverage. Do not waste breath on blame in the moment that requires movement, because energy saved for action increases the odds of bringing limbs back to health and family back to safety. Use your attention like a lantern, focusing on the person you can reach in the next minute, and your steady care will ripple outward. There is skill in doing the practical work of rescue, and practice reduces the cold influence of terror. When someone is physically hurt, immediate care matters. Stabilizing broken limbs and stopping bleeding are the first acts of devotion that will change pain into the possibility of healing. Gather what you have at hand, improvise splints, apply gentle pressure, and prepare to move as soon as movement becomes safe. The urgency of now requires a measured touch and a fierce will, both of which are available to those who refuse to surrender. Type Amen to get blessing 777. A moment arrives when quiet becomes a weapon and silence masks motion, and in that slender pause you must decide how to act with precision. The captor believes control is absolute until a collective of small rebellions proves otherwise, and even a whispered plan can start a chain reaction that loosens bonds. Choose your moment like a craftsman, waiting for the joint that will yield under pressure because haste invites error and care invites victory. Communicate with gestures when voices endanger the rescue, and create a language of movements that everyone in the house understands. A touch to the shoulder can mean move now, a blink can mean hold, and a tap can mean the path is clear, so train these signals quickly and use them like a secret code that confounds the watcher. The quieter your plan, the safer the steps you take to carry the wounded to light. Prepare a distraction that draws attention away from the exit and towards something harmless, because when attention shifts the world rearranges itself and the captor can no longer hold all edges of control. Noise, light, a sudden knock, a dropped object, these are tools to be used with care and timing, not drama, and they work best when everyone knows their role. Practice the choreography in your mind until it feels inevitable and then follow the sequence with calm. Collect any small weapons of defense that are legal and safe, placing them where they will not be found by sight but will be ready in a moment of necessary defense. A broom can be a lever, a chair can block, a phone can call and call again. Every ordinary thing can become extraordinary when used with resolve. Remember that the purpose of defense is to secure escape, not to prolong a fight, so keep your intent clear and focused on bringing bodies home. Type Amen to get blessing 111. When the wounded are carried into safety, simple comforts restore dignity and begin the process of healing, and your presence will matter more than any medicine at first. Soft cloths, warm liquids, gentle words, and the steady rhythm of someone breathing beside them rebuild what the captor tried to take away. Let compassion be the first medicine and let practical care follow with steady hands. After the immediate danger is past, document everything that happened because the truth becomes a weapon against further harm when it is recorded and shared with those who can act. Names, times, descriptions of injuries, and the sequence of events form a map that leads to accountability, and clear records help those who will protect you next. Keep the account simple and factual, avoid embellishment, and prioritize accuracy over drama. Reach out to trusted allies who have the resources and the will to help, because rescue is often a communal act and not the work of a single person. Neighbors, friends, community leaders, and professionals can coordinate safety, shelter, and medical care if given clear instructions and the truth about what transpired. The web of support will widen once you allow hands outside the household to join the effort. Protect the wounded from further exploitation by controlling the flow of information until safety is secured, because well-meaning gossip can be a second captivity. Share details only with those whose help is necessary, and establish secure channels of communication for updates. The fewer eyes that watch the recovery site, the harder it will be for those who wish harm to find you again. Type Amen to get blessing 999. Providence moves through the practical acts of people who refuse to be victims, and every small arrangement for safety shouts down the lie of helplessness. Arrange sleeping spaces to minimize exposure, change routines that were predictable, and guard the exits until formal protection arrives. The appearance of ordinary life is itself a strategy, because predictability creates targets and change creates confusion for those who would control you. When the body is injured, the mind often carries scars that follow long after wounds close, and sensitivity in conversation matters more than platitudes. Listen without interrupting, accept whatever emotion arrives, and avoid minimizing the depth of the pain with quick reassurances. Presence is the currency of healing, and your willingness to sit in discomfort with another person buys time for trust to return. Every call for help that lands with the right person amplifies your chance of a swift resolution, so find connections who know how to move the right doors open. A single professional with experience in rescue and victim care can reduce months of solitary struggle into days of safety. Seek them and allow their training to guide the logistics that your loved ones need now. If you must leave a place for safety, plan the departure like a sacred task with a list of essentials that prioritizes life and recovery over material things. Medications, important documents, basic clothing, and any comfort items for the wounded will travel with you, and a little foresight spares you heavy choices on the run. The act of leaving can be terrifying and sacred at once, so treat it with reverence and determination. Type Amen to get blessing 555. Use light to break the shadows that captors hide behind, because brightness reveals weakness and forces decisions from those who prefer concealment. A flashlight, a phone screen, a sudden lamp all interrupt secrecy and give the wounded glimpses of rescue in the dark. Keep batteries ready and lights within grasp, and train someone to switch them on at a precise signal. When solitude feels like an enemy, gather witnesses who can be counted on to testify to what they saw and heard, because testimony disarms lies. A neighbor who noticed an unusual movement, a passerby who heard a disturbance, a stranger who saw a scratched face, these pieces become a mosaic of truth. Secure their statements before memory fades and gratitude grows into busy life. Medical attention must be sought even when injuries appear minor, because pain can hide internal damage and swelling can betray a deeper injury later. Professional hands know what to look for under the skin, and early intervention reduces the risk of long-term disability. Transport the injured with care and get them the assessments they deserve. There are quiet rituals you can perform to restore a sense of safety, such as changing the locks, installing simple alarms, and creating a household plan that every family member memorizes. Security is not only physical but psychological, built on repeated practices that reassure the nervous body. Repetition creates new patterns, and the new pattern will be a life not defined by the captivity you endured. Type Amen to get blessing 222. Courage sometimes looks like ordinary behavior repeated until it becomes new muscle, and in the weeks that follow, small routines will rebuild trust in movement and in space. Walk the house together, touch the places where fear lodged, and claim them back with the gentleness of daily presence. The body learns again by repeating safe motions and the mind relearns freedom by stepping into light. When anger burns hot, let it be a fuel for change rather than a weapon against yourself, because righteous anger can motivate action but unchanneled rage can harm the very people you aim to protect. Channel the energy into seeking justice, into organizing support, into strengthening boundaries that will not be crossed again. Create practical outlets that turn fury into policy, into stronger doors, into clearer systems of care. Forgiveness is not required nor should it be hurried upon anyone. It is a personal process that may never be chosen and that must not be forced. Recovery honors the choice of each person about how to relate to those who harm them, and your role is to support that choice without imposing a timetable. Respect the autonomy of the wounded and hold space for whatever they decide. Teach children safety skills as basic life skills and not as a source of fear, because knowledge empowers them and reduces the chance of long-term terror shaping their lives. Practice signals and safe places with play that makes remembering easy, and normalize the idea that everyone knows what to do in an emergency. Empowerment beats paralysis when it is taught with love. Type Amen to get blessing 444. A community that learns together protects itself together, so share what you learn in discreet, appropriate ways that strengthen local defenses without exposing vulnerabilities. A well-informed neighborhood becomes a network of small lights that keep predators from finding a single, dark place to hide. Arrange watch systems that are respectful and legal, and teach neighbors how to respond without escalating risk. Physical healing is measured in clean bandages and steady steps, while emotional healing is measured in fewer fearful nights and more morning laughter. Both forms of recovery take time and consistent care, and both deserve equal attention and resources. Celebrate milestones quietly and insistently, because small victories stitch the heart back together. Keep records of medical visits, police reports, and conversations with professionals because these documents are your allies in the long arc toward justice and safety. Organize them in a folder carried by a trusted person and duplicate the important pieces in secure storage. A clear trail of evidence stops confusing lies and helps authorities do their job. When you speak of the events, choose your audience carefully and speak with intention, because words can re-traumatize or they can educate and mobilize. Tell the story in ways that lead to protection and reform, and avoid the temptation to dramatize pain for attention. The story you tell can change systems if it is true, measured, and shared with purpose. Type Amen to get blessing 121. Take care to protect digital traces that might reveal location or routines, because captors and their allies often watch online footprints. Change passwords, limit public posts about movement, and set privacy controls on devices used by the family. Digital safety is as practical as physical locks, and it reduces the chance of recontact. Organize finances so a sudden departure does not trap you again, because control often uses money as another chain. Arrange emergency funds, establish access for trusted allies, and make sure bills can be paid without dependence on a single controlling hand. Financial sovereignty provides options, and options translate into freedom. Find a professional counselor with trauma experience and keep appointments a sacred priority, because trained support can help the wounded navigate the confusing terrain of recovery. Therapy is practical work that reteaches the nervous system what safety feels like, and it offers tools that daily love cannot always provide. Honor the process and expect gradual gains rather than instant fixes. Practice basic first aid with your household as a precaution, not a prophecy, because being prepared reduces panic and saves time in moments that matter. A short course in wound care, splinting, and emergency response is an investment in the lives you protect. Knowledge builds confidence, and confidence builds resilient action. Type Amen to get blessing 808. Privacy matters now more than ever, so choose where you tell the story and who holds the keys to the next steps. Disclosure must be tactical and sparing when safety is not yet secure, and trust should be earned slowly. The right confidants will guard your secret as fiercely as you do. Take pictures of injuries and property damage as soon as it is safe, because images make the invisible visible and strengthen any claim for help. Use secure storage for photos and hand copies to legal counsel or trusted advocates to avoid manipulation. Photographic evidence is a quiet but powerful witness. Rally legal help as soon as possible, because the law gives structure to protection orders and consequences that keep predators at bay. A lawyer who understands domestic entrapment and assault can file urgent motions that change the immediate risk landscape. Do not wait for justice to appear spontaneously, seek it with intention and my persistence. Prepare a short safety script for every family member to memorize, because in high-stress moments people do not invent new words but can use rehearsed lines that save time and reduce confusion. Make the script clear, short, and actionable and practice it until fingers and feet move in rhythm with the phrases. Repetition makes performance reliable. Type Amen to get blessing 303. Let food be medicine in the weeks of recovery, because nourishing meals rebuild strength and also communicate love in practical form. Comfort food arranged with care is a balm to the nervous system and an anchor to normalcy. Feed the wounded with patience and respect for appetite fluctuations. Rebuild boundaries in the household slowly and with consent, because safety includes whole-person agency and no one should be forced into a pattern before they are ready. Negotiated rules about visitors, phone calls, and night routines give control back to those who lost it. Respect the pace of each person's healing journey. Celebrate the small returns of mobility with ceremonies that mark progress, such as a shared meal, a song, or the planting of a small tree. Rituals honor the body's resilience and make recovery visible in communal ways. Each celebration is a stitch that repairs the fabric of everyday life. Keep a visible emergency bag by the door that everyone can reach, filled with essentials to carry in a rush, because forethought dissolves hesitation when choices matter most. Replace items as they are used and test the bag monthly so it remains a true lifeline. A single pre-packed bag removes one barrier in the scramble to safety. Type Amen to get blessing 606. Teach neighbors and friends how to spot coercive control, because many hands that notice will prevent many harms that hide in plain sight. Patterns of isolation, strange financial control, and unexplained injuries deserve attention in a community that cares. Empower others to act with care and to report what they see without shame. When you must speak to the press or social platforms, get professional guidance so the story advances protection rather than spectacle, because public attention can help and can also endanger. Choose spokespeople who prioritize safety and who understand the stakes involved. Media is powerful and should be wielded with wisdom. Secure children's routines with new rituals that reinforce safety without creating terror, because childhood needs both continuity and protection. Keep activities predictable but supervised and teach children the names of trusted adults who can help in emergencies. Their small hands deserve to learn practical safety without losing play. Reconnect with sources of spiritual strength that comfort without collapsing into empty words, because faith can be a practical companion in recovery when it is grounded in action. Prayer, meditation, or quiet reflection can steady the nervous system, but it must be joined with plans and professionals. Spiritual life and practical work are partners in healing. Type Amen to get blessing 707. A seasoned ally will help you compile a timeline of events that make sense to outsiders, because narrative order helps officials understand what to act upon. Timelines reduce confusion and clarify patterns that single incidents hide. Build the timeline together with witnesses and pictures, and keep it factual. Create code words for danger that only family uses, because coded language protects against eavesdropping and allows immediate, secret alerts. A single phrase can mobilize a neighbor or trigger a prearranged call to authorities. Train for the moment when the code must be used and trust the system when it is. Practice moving people discreetly as an exercise so that the body learns safe turning and carrying techniques, because muscle memory matters when adrenaline surges. Use pillows, blankets, and chairs to simulate supports, and instruct everyone on how to lift and support without causing further injury. Safety in motion comes from repeated, careful training. Break down large tasks into smaller, doable steps so the monumental becomes manageable and fear loses its appetite for paralysis. A list with tiny items builds momentum as each item is crossed off, and momentum feeds hope. Small victories accumulate into a new normal. Type Amen to get blessing 818. Support networks that include professionals, neighbors, and friends will ask the right kinds of questions and provide the right kinds of help, because expertise prevents missteps. Invite trained responders into the conversation early, and allow them to coordinate care and logistics. Their experience makes your plan stronger. Be alert to the return of shame and secrecy, because captors rely on silence to preserve power and shame to keep it. Counter those forces with openness to the right people and an insistence on dignified care. Shame loses its grip when kindness and facts replace its whisper. Keep emergency phone numbers visible and programmed, and teach children how to reach them in short, rehearsed ways, because time saved in dialing changes outcomes. Program a trusted contact as a speed dial and label it in a way children can read. Make practicing the call part of home safety drills. When the legal system feels slow, reinforce your case with community pressure and organized advocacy, because collective voices can move mountains that single voices cannot. Partner with local groups and counselors who understand the terrain and can amplify the call for swift protection. Organize calmly and persistently. Type Amen to get blessing 909. If flight is required, select a destination that offers anonymity and resources, because escape must land somewhere capable of sheltering wounds and providing care. Identify safe houses, shelters, or relatives who can host without questions that expose location. The right place is one that restores breath. Respect the bodily autonomy of every person who emerged from captivity, because healing depends on consent and the right to say no. Do not force medical procedures, interventions, or interviews. Seek permission and explain choices clearly and gently. Autonomy is part of reclaiming selfhood. Plan for legal protection with restraining orders and emergency petitions when necessary, because law can extend physical distance beyond what you can create alone. Work with advocates who understand how to document threats and file motions quickly. Legal tools are part of the architecture of safety. Teach every family member to recognize manipulative behaviors, because awareness dissolves the tricks that captors use to regain control. Study patterns together and normalize the language of coercion so it becomes easy to call out when it reappears. Knowledge prevents recurrence. Type Amen to get blessing 1212. Once, in the dim hour after rescue, a neighbor's blanket became a symbol of warmth that stitched a family back together, and small gestures like that hold massive power. Offerings of food, shelter, and steady presence create a quiet revolution against the cruelty that tried to break you. Hold those gestures close and repay them with gratitude in practical forms. Growth after trauma does not require forgetting what happened, but it does require building structures that prevent repetition, and those structures are the work of sustained community effort. Teach, legislate, advocate, and make policy that protects the vulnerable. Systems change when those who have been hurt rise to demand better. Let the body rest in safe, clean spaces that encourage sleep, because recovery is a physical process that needs uninterrupted rest. Create bedrooms that are calm and free of triggers and keep routines that invite sleep gently. The brain heals in slow waves and rests rebuild the will to act each day. Bring in professionals who can assess long-term rehabilitation needs, because mobility and comfort may require sustained therapy, and planning early makes later life better. Physical therapists, counselors, and occupational therapists form a team that rebuilds motion and confidence. Invest in their guidance as you would in any essential service. Type Amen to get blessing 1313. There will be nights when the past returns like a tide, and in those nights the steady presence of someone who will not look away makes the darkness bearable. Sit with the silence, offer water, hold a hand, and be the human anchor that stops the mind from drowning. Presence is a medicine without prescription. Document the changes you make to the home for safety because these improvements are evidence of proactive protection and can support claims for assistance or funding. Photos of new locks, receipts for work, and notes about security system installations form a record of care. Keep copies and share them with advocates when needed. Teach the family to notice the small signs of danger in the world so they can respond before escalation, because prevention is the most powerful form of rescue. Curiosity about unusual behaviors, calls at odd hours, and unexplained gifts can be protective when noticed early. Notice, record, act. Form alliances with professionals who understand the cultural context of your life, because culturally informed care reduces misunderstanding and improves outcomes. Choose allies who speak your language, respect your customs, and bring practical solutions that fit your world. The right fit saves time and restores dignity. Type Amen to get blessing 1717. When healing becomes mundane work, find small joys that mark progress and restore flavor to daily life, because joy is a quiet form of revolution against what tried to take you. A meal cooked together, a walk in the sun, a song shared aloud, these are the votes you cast for life. Celebrate them without apology. If the idea of forgiveness appears, let it be chosen freely and not demanded as a fast track to peace, because justice and restoration are different paths and both may matter in time. Allow those hurt to chart their own route and respect their pace. Support without pressure becomes the truest form of loyalty. Keep the stories of rescue as testimonies that can teach others how to act, because knowledge passed on prevents repetition and builds a safer world. Share with care and with those who can transform your experience into protection for many. Testimony becomes policy when it is paired with organized action. Reinforce emotional bonds with gentle contact and consistent care, because the wounded often fear closeness and need proof in small doses. A hand on a shoulder, a prepared tea, a shared silence can rebuild intimacy gradually. Trust regrows through repeated, kind interactions. Type Amen to get blessing 2020. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. Let the legal process be steady and methodical because chaos benefits those who hurt and structure benefits those who heal. Attend hearings with advocates, file motions with care, and keep records that make winning easier. The law is slow but persistent documentation makes it move. Teach your family to recognize gaslighting and to name it when it occurs, because naming dissolves the power of manipulation and returns clarity to reality. Practice naming exercises and reinforce truth with outside witnesses. Clarity becomes a habit and habit becomes protection. Create an ongoing safety review that meets weekly for a while, because regular checks catch risks before they become disasters. Talk logistics, rotate responsibilities, and keep the emergency bag stocked. Regularity reduces panic. Build a map of safe contacts and local resources, including shelters, counselors, and legal aid, because knowing where to turn removes the paralysis of fear. Keep the map accessible and practice calling the resources so the phone numbers become familiar. Preparation becomes freedom. Type Amen to get blessing 2323. There will be a time when the story no longer defines the whole life, and in that time new chapters will emerge filled with different tasks and joys. Allow the future to arrive on the terms of those who were harmed, not the terms of those who harmed them. Choose boldness in rebuilding. Teach children that their bodies are theirs alone and that consent is their right, because early education prevents a lifetime of confusion. Practice clear, respectful language and model boundaries in daily life. Empowerment begins with simple words and steady examples. When the days feel heavy, create a ritual of small, daily victories that remind everyone they are moving forward, because momentum defeats the inertia of trauma. A checklist that includes a short walk, a healthy meal, and a kind word becomes a ladder out of despair. Climb slowly and keep climbing. Support advocacy that aims to prevent others from suffering the same fate, because collective action turns private pain into public prevention. Volunteer, donate, and speak where it is safe to do so, and use your experience as a roadmap for change. Public change starts with private truths. Type Amen to get blessing 2525. You will find that steady care is more important than grand gestures, and the work of recovery is 1,000 small acts done repeatedly. Make those acts sacred and never underestimate their power. Each meal prepared, each appointment kept, each night of watchful companionship is a triumph. Hold those who helped you close to your heart and give them thanks in practical ways, because gratitude cements alliances and returns dignity to everyone involved. Small gifts, visits, and notes of appreciation matter. Community that is tended stays sturdy. Teach each family member to be both resilient and tender, because resilience without tenderness hardens the soul and tenderness without resilience yields to fear. Balance the two and model it in your actions. Strength becomes humane when it is gentle. Protect privacy fiercely and share stories responsibly, because safe storytelling helps others without endangering your own refuge. Choose the right forums and the right advocates. Safety multiplies when stories are told well. Type Amen to get blessing 2727. When the wounds heal, plant something together as a symbol of the life you chose over the life that tried to break you, because living things bear witness to survival. Water it, care for it, and let it grow as a reminder that life continues. The act of tending becomes part of the remedy. Stand ready to support one another in the days that test you, because recovery is not a straight line and setbacks will come. Prepare for them with patience and planned responses. The family that plans together survives together. Create a safety covenant with all who live in the house, a simple pledge to act quickly, to protect privacy, and to seek help without shame, because shared commitments are stronger than individuals alone. write it down and revisit it. The covenant becomes a promise that transforms fear. Remember that small, regular acts of care are louder than any single cry, and that slow, relentless love rebuilds what was damaged. Keep acting, keep protecting, and keep believing in the possibility of full lives returned. The arc bends toward safety when people refuse to stop. Type Amen to get blessing 2929. My beloved child, Archangel Michael says that the light you carry will find every knot and loosen it, and that the courage you gather will return movement to the legs that were trapped. Stand steady, act with intention, and let the community you build be the fortress you could not raise alone. In time the wounds will teach strength and the small daily choices will become the proof that you survived and then thrived. There will be days of weariness and days of fierce hope, and both are part of a full recovery that honors the past without being held by it. Move forward with companions who keep your pace and professionals who know the path. The future you build will be gentler and stronger for the work you do now. Let kindness be your law and persistence your practice, because safety grows where people refuse to give up and where small acts of care are abundant. Protect, plan, document, and reach out, and let the energy of rescue become the work of rebuilding. Keep the flame of love alive and let it guide every step. Type Amen to get blessing 3434. Stay safe, act with clarity, and hold fast to the knowledge that even when legs are bound, the spirit can always begin to move toward freedom.